Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Take It to the Hizzy, Fantasy Football, TITTH number 152. I'm your host, Justin Bruni, but I got Emron Khan with me this morning. Happy Sunday, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. We were actually supposed to have a couple more of our guys on this morning, but unfortunately, Tommy Exel and Nick Davis, they both lost some family members. So thinking of you guys, wish you were here, but, you know, life happens, right? Shit sucks. I hate to hear it, but if you guys are following Nick or Tommy on Twitter, be sure to go, send them some love, tweet them, send them a DM, whatever. They're awesome. They do a lot around here. Really feeling for you guys this morning. If you guys are watching, sure. we're thinking about you. But how's everything else going with you, Emron? How's the weekend? You got any plans for the rest of Sunday?
Nothing much, man. It's just been the normal weekend, working and stuff. It was weird to kind of go to places yesterday when I was running some errands, and like being able to go to places and not have to wear a mask anymore. That's been nice. It's been really weird. Like you feel like you're doing something illegal, and like I find myself like taking extra deep breaths now. I'm like, I forgot what that retail air smelled like, right? Yeah, so you're just hanging out today, just doing some stuff with the fam later. So just knocking out some errands right before starting the week back up. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much same. Yasmin got her learner's permit, so we're going to take her do some driving lessons. She got that social security card, getting the jobs and whatnot. Immigration, it's a bitch of a process, but come the end of it, there are some bright sides or some positives to take away from it. So, she's going to be doing a little bit of driving today. We're going to run some errands, groceries, all that. I don't know. We might go to Baltimore or DC, do something fun. Not sure yet. Not too sure. Anything else going on this week that you got going on? We haven't seen you in a while, so
yeah, I know. I've been MIA. I've just been busy with some other stuff, but no, we're just going good. Nothing planned really. It's kind of weird. A couple months ago when summer was coming up, didn't know what it was going to look like, right? We're still waiting on the vaccine stuff. Haven't made any plans. So just kind of enjoying it, just working through the week and trying to do some fun stuff throughout the weekend.
All right. Sounds good. We'll have a couple of shows this week. We got hockey on Monday and basketball on Wednesday. Seasons are wrapping up, so only a handful of episodes left of the two here. But let's jump into some recent news or snooze. But before we do, we dropped the Julio news last week live. The trade happened when we were on air, but you weren't here, Emron. What was your reaction to the new addition to the Titans?
Yeah, so that was one of the teams that was reported as being really aggressive in the pursuit. I love the fit for the Titans. I think Tannehill. A lot of people are really disrespecting him. I think Julio's getting actually an upgrade in quarterback. Like what Tannehill's been doing as a Tennessee Titan has been really insane. I know that one of the viral stats was going out comparing him and Mahomes since he's been in Titans, and he's beating him in every category. Not saying he's a better quarterback, but it just speaks to the level of play he's at. So combining him with A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry and Tannehill, that is a pretty scary trio. And a lot of people are looking at it like, oh, that means A.J. Brown's going to get less targets. No, it's not, because they lost Jonnu Smith, who was a big part of that offense. Corey Davis had a pretty decent year last year. And they also lost, Adam Humphrey. So more targets to go around. And I just think that's going to be scary. And so I think I love the pick for the Titans. Was really disappointed that the Ravens didn't end up making that trade. I thought that would have been something that takes them to the next level. Was really hoping for that, but, good for the Titans.
Yeah, absolutely. I did do some recalculating in my rankings. I had A.J. Brown as high as number 3. I've kind of backed him down to about number 5 now. And that's just because I do see those available targets, those touchdowns. The dominating share is still probably going to go to Julio, right? A.J. Brown had about 108 targets last year. Without Julio there, I was expecting probably close to 145, 150. And I'm just not sure if I can, buy into that still. If those are realistic expectations, I think that 120 to 135 range is still really good. And it still keeps him in the top 5 conversation. But I did back him down out of the top 3. I actually had him above, Tyreek Hill, Calvin Ridley, who I actually moved up as well with Julio leaving Atlanta. So I like Calvin a little bit more as well. I had Julio at about wide receiver 12. I didn't really adjust that because I knew that he was going to be on the move. The writing was on the wall, right? So
yeah.
if he had gone to like a Kansas City or I don't know, even like a Chargers or even like Seattle or something like that, I would have moved him up. But I felt like 12 is still like a really good spot. Do you think that's an okay territory?
Absolutely, that's the wide receiver one in most leagues, so I think that's going to be really good. I think 12 to 15 is a good soft spot for him. Immensely talented, right? One of the best of all time. I think for him, he's going to have a little bit of an adjustment period, but I think he's still going to have a very productive season. And I think I'm really excited to see him on a new team.
I'm really excited to see that offense. Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, Julio Jones. How do you stop them? Like,
yeah.
That's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be big, and like I said, I think it's great for him because I think he's gonna step in and take on a lot of those targets that were going to Jonnu last year. It's more touchdowns, more catches to go around. So that is a team that they know who they have to beat, right? They have to beat the Chiefs and the Bills, right? They're adding more firepower for this arms race.
Imagine if they also land Zach Ertz, or is that really not that? Would that not be that big of an impact? You think?
I think it would be an impact because I think that they have AJ Brown and Julio, right? Derrick Henry is not really really involved in the receiving game, so Ertz as your third option, I think that would be really dynamic because I think a lot of people are forgetting how talented Zach Ertz is.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to be forgotten from that Eagles offense. That was just completely a mess last year, going from Wentz to Hurts. We'll touch a little bit on Hurts actually later in the show. But yeah, that would be something. I heard that they're still in the mix. That would be a wild wild offseason for the Titans. That's not typically their bag, going after superstars and landing tight end ones, wide receiver ones in every position. That's not usually their shtick. So it'd be pretty interesting. Let's jump into some news or snooze. But before we do, please be sure to smash the like button, share the video, and follow us on youtube.com. First up, we've got some news out of Kansas City. Byron Pringle shaking things up at Kansas City Chiefs camp, saying that he is the most targeted, most target-friendly receiver for Mahomes right now out of minicamp. News or snooze?
It's snooze. I mean, I think the Chiefs' offense, we all know this, right? The Chiefs' offense is Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, then everybody else, right? He'll have a couple of games. I think it was last year, right? Whether like week 1 and week 2, Demarcus Robinson was on fire, right? He had like 3 or 4 touchdowns the first couple of weeks, and then he settled into his role. So I think he could have a couple of weeks where he pops off, but I still think after Kelce and Hill, the player I would want is McCole Hardman from that offense. I just think his style and his speed, he's been there. So it's news for me.
What about Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
He's somebody that I would love to see in that role. He has that receiving ability, but last year was really after that week 1, right? It was disappointing. And one of the things that was really evident in that week 1 game is they tried to feed him touchdowns, right? They got to the goal line, but he just struggled. And so that's where I'm getting worried with him, where I'm curious to see how they use him, right? They have a little bit less of a committee back there with Le'Veon gone. So I think he could have some value, but it's still an unknown, even from coming into a year 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to say snooze as well. It's still June. It's obviously still mini camps. I'm not sure. In the article itself, it says like, he's got the edge on Mecole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson. Yeah, well, for how long? You know what I mean? Like, I would assume that those guys still feel a little bit more comfortable in their roles just because they've been involved in recent years. I mean, I think he's a nice little stash option. I think he'll be great in best ball formats, with like your last pick. But anything round 21 or more, I mean, it's really riskless. Like these are guys that may not be on your team in later weeks, right? So I'll definitely take a shot on them. It's just that offense, right? They still lost Sammy Watkins. I still believe that there's some regression opportunity for Tyreek Hill's touchdowns. He had 17 last year total, 15 receiving, 2 rushing. So I feel like there should be some opportunities for some of these back end guys to eat. To me, it just makes it really comes down to like a guy like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, how much of a share in this offense is he going to get? Are we going to see some of those other running backs back there? They have Jerick McKinnon now. Darrell Williams doesn't have the other Damian Williams, or he has him off his back now, I should say. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with some of these options that aren't named Hill and Kelce. But hey, good news to hear out of Chiefs camp. Nice little stash opportunity. I don't hate that. Still snooze though.
Yep.
All right, next up, we've got Mike Zimmer, the Antichrist, coming out saying that Irv Smith will not have a bigger role in 2021. How dare you, sir? How dare you, Mike Zimmer? News or snooze, Emron?
It's news, but I'm snoozing on it because I don't buy it. It sounds like a bunch of bullshit. They spent a second round pick on Smith. They let go of Kyle Rudolph,
Hmm.
right? They need a third option behind Jefferson and Thielen. And Thielen took a
Hmm.
little bit of a step back last year. I know he racked up the touchdowns, but he didn't look like
Right.
himself. I don't know if it's injuries or what. Like I said, he did good to touchdowns, but he wasn't as
Hmm.
an explosive a playmaker as he's been. So they need somebody, right? Irv Smith is very talented. So I think he's going to be a part of that passing game. I don't know if he's trying to like throw off defenses, and defensive coordinators, but I think he's going to have some value in this offense because honestly, they're going to need him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I'm saying, actually, I mean, I hate Mike Zimmer. I mean, I don't know, disrespecting Irv Smith like this, sir. You deserve something bad to happen to you. Kicked in your kneecap or something. I don't know. But I love the
Oh, Dan
news.
Campbell.
I'm saying news. I'm
Yep.
saying news because it's great news because hopefully it just diminishes a little bit of draft value and draft stock in
Yep.
fantasy. So right now he's going at tight end 11 in round 12. I think that's pretty appropriate. But if I can get another round out of Mike Zimmer running his mouth, I'll take it. Give it to me, you
Yep.
bastard. So yeah, I'm saying news because I love it. It's fake news. It's fake news because it's absolutely just false. They're saying Ty Conklin is the guy that's going to be, threatening him for touches and these other things, double tight end sets, protecting the run game, etc. Right? But Irv Smith is just so talented. And like you said, they spent the second round pick on him. He's super athletic. I can't remember what it was. He was like tight end 8 or something like that across the weeks that Rudolph was gone. I can't remember something like that, 6 through 8. So I mean, he's been performing. It was saying here that Conklin had like 3 more catches across the span of Rudolph being out, but Irv Smith was getting the looks in the red zone. So yeah, this is fake news. I don't even know what. I don't know. Maybe he was just upset at the question. I don't know. Maybe he was just getting a little aggressive with a reporter. I'm not sure, but yeah, that was some big old fake news. I felt like.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we've got Laviska Shenault. All reports that are out of Jacksonville are that the coaches are buzzing over his play in minicamp so far. News or snooze?
I think it's news. Laviska was somebody I was really excited to see last year. He had a couple games where he looked good. Quarterback play was all over the place, right? When you have Jake Luton and Mike Glennon playing significant snaps, that's going to be harmful. Yeah. But I love the fact that, he's getting this hype and he's getting this love and publicity because I think with Trevor Lawrence, they have a sneaky little offense there. DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, Marvin Jones Jr., Travis Etienne, James Robinson, and they've been beefing up the line. So I think this could be, and he's a very unique player. Where I don't want to say I want to use the comparison to Tyreek Hill. Not saying they're the same in speed, but in terms of being able to line him up everywhere, whether it's on the outside, in the slot, in the backfield, and he runs violent. Like he runs angry, like when he gets the ball. So I love this news, and that's somebody I think he could have a really, really promising year this year with Trevor Lawrence.
Well, I hate the news. I hope the coaches down there keep their mouths shut because this is a guy that I want to stay right where he's at or also lose some value. Right now he's going in like round 11. I don't feel like that'll be the case, as we get closer to week 1. I feel like his stock is going to continue to climb. Round 11 right now is very friendly. I got him in an auction draft, I want to say for about $26, which is I think about $8 or $9 less than like Deebo Samuel, who I see is having very similar usage. Benefit of Samuel, though, he has less competition for touches, right? With Shenault, like it's still really tough for me. I would like him to lose some value on draft boards just because you have ETN there now. You have the James Robinson ETN issue. You have those other 2 receivers there in Chark and Marvin Jones, who I also like a lot going in that same space, like rounds 10 through 12. And then they also got Tim Tebow, who they're talking about using like Taysom Hill, who God knows what they're going to do. Yeah, exactly. God knows what frustrations they're going to produce for us on Sundays in fantasy football. I can see Tebow stealing red zone touches, stealing touchdowns, rushing, throwing, whatever it is, catching them. It's going to be a shit show. I love Shenault in dynasty formats because obviously you're getting him beyond this year, and hopefully, after this year, it just becomes more evident that he's going to be the guy there. Maybe Chark isn't going to stick around. Maybe Jones is just kind of one and done there. If he doesn't feel like, he's being prioritized in the offense. So I like him for down the road, but this year, it's really tough to gauge what his value is going to be. He led the team in receptions last year, but again, the offense was in shambles. Glennon, Luton, injuries to Chark, the emergence of James Robinson, right? And now they completely shit on all of that. We have no idea who's going to be the lead dog there. So that's just where I like Shenault, but I don't love the situation necessarily. I don't necessarily love the competition that he has. One less mouth to feed, I'll be all in on him. As far as this being like news or snooze, I guess I got to say snooze because everything they're saying about him, I feel like we've all like in the community already been saying.
Yep.
Everybody loves Chanel. Everybody loves guys like Ayuk. These sophomores that have that dual threat ability, like you mentioned, can line them up anywhere on the field. So snooze for me. Hopefully, there's one less mouth to feed come week 1. All right, next up, we've got Quintez Cephas hauling in all of Jared Goff's looks here, looking like he's getting the majority of targets, touches. News or snooze?
Honestly, it's snooze. I mean, I think he's going to be a buzz name where a lot of people, a lot of drafts are going to probably reach on him. It's basically because the Lions wide receiving core is so scarce, right? It's him, Perriman.
It's non-existent.
it's basically not, and they did draft Amon-Ra Brown as well. Like I don't know what their team is doing. I think late round flyer, one of my last picks. I'll take a shot on him because it's Jared Goff, who's no longer under Sean McVay. We've seen what he looks like without Sean McVay, so I'm just really concerned. And I think honestly, I know we're going to talk about it a little bit, but aside from Hawkinson and Swift, I really don't want anybody else on this team.
Hawkinson and Swift, it makes a lot of sense. I have a share so far of Quintez Cephas. To me, he's just the most competent receiver that they have. Yep. On the depth chart, they have Tyrell Williams and Rashad Perriman ahead of him. To me, those guys are just undraftable, in my opinion. Cephas is going in about round 21 of super flex leagues. Amon-Ra and Perriman are going in round 18, and I just have that completely opposite. I will take Cephas over both of those guys all day, twice on Tuesdays. I have him about wide receiver 64. I don't think that's a terrible spot. Obviously, someone's going to have to catch the ball there other than Hawkinson, who isn't really, maybe he does get more volume, but he hasn't been a volume type of, tight end just yet. His fantasy value last year was mostly just based off of touchdowns. I know we'll get to him here in a minute, but at the same time, someone on that wide receiver room has to rise to the top, whether it's Amon-Ra, whether it's Cephas, and they really like Cephas. They cut Marvin Hall a week after he had like 4 catches, like 70 yards and a touchdown, because they specifically said, well, we like Cephas more. Like, this guy just caught it like a huge big play touchdown.
Yep.
You guys were in the game and you cut him. Like, what the hell? They really like this guy, so they're interested in developing him. Is there any other receiver there, maybe Amon-Ra, that you'd be interested other than Cephas?
Amon-Ra, he's a rookie, so that they see something in him, but still, it's really a dart throw. I mean, Tyrell Williams is probably the most experienced. Rashad Perriman's had a little bit of success, but it's really, for me, the problem is the quarterback. I don't trust the quarterback.
Sure.
He was in an ideal situation with one of the best play callers, with Cooper Kupp, right, with Robert Woods. And that's what I'm really concerned about. The reason I see Hawkinson having value, again, don't want to talk about that too much, is the red zone, and he's just a big body player.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. Cephas, round 21 or later, absolutely. Give me to him. Honest, I'll take him rounds 16 plus even. Just in these deeper leagues, I think he's going to hold some value for you. Just a fill-in guy, dart throw. If he goes off, he does. If not, he'll be on waivers not that long. All right, next up, we've got Dak talking up Zeke. Says he's in the best shape of his life. News or snooze?
It's news in the sense that Dak's going to be healthy, and I think that's going to help out Zeke. When Zach went down last year, he really struggled. He couldn't really, get the same type of separation from the offensive line that he was getting in the past, because Dak, before he went down, I think he was on pace for like 6,000 yards. He was having an insane year. Yeah. And once they lost that, it took Andy Dalton some time to get settled in. He never really was up to get up to Dak's level. So I think he'll have a bounce back year. It is concerning though, right? As running backs get older and they get their contract, it's very rarely do they have a good year, right? So it's a little bit concerning. That line, which for the longest time everybody thought was the best thing ever, it's nowhere near that, right? It's a shell of its former self. So it's concerning, but I think having Dak back is going to be it's going to be the thing that's going to help out Zeke the most.
Yeah, I got to snooze on this. I mean, I feel like there's always some hype coming out of Dallas. We're already so high on their offense already. I don't think it really does anything for Zeke's draft stock. Right now, he's going at the end of the first round, beginning of the second round. Are you touching him? Are you targeting him in fantasy? Is he going to be someone that you're interested in? You actually have, I think, pick 12 in our upcoming draft here at the end of the month.
Yeah, if he's there, I might consider him because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, I mean, even though Tony Pollard's there, Zeke, I mean, he's had so much
Hmm.
production in the NFL, so many good years.
Hmm.
It's going to be hard to pass on him. I think end of the first round, beginning of the second, I think that's an appropriate place to take him. Any higher than him, it'd be hard to do that because there's probably better
Yeah.
value on the board, whether it's Travis Kelce, whether it's one of the other running backs, right, or somebody like Saquon who's coming back off an ACL injury, who's going to be in a dynamic offense. So I think
Hmm.
end of first, beginning of second I feel comfortable there.
So I'm going to throw a couple of names at you here. Just Zeke Elliott versus who would
Okay.
you rather have beginning of the first, end of the second? Or I'm sorry, end of the first, beginning of the second. Zeke versus Eckler.
Eckler?
Austin
I'll take
Eckler.
Zeke.
Okay, I'll take Eckler. Tyreek Hill. Zeke versus Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill, same here. DeAndre Hopkins.
Zeke.
Tough one. I'm going Hopkins. Jonathan Taylor.
Zeke.
Yeah, I'll probably go Zeke there, just because there's they got Marlon Mack back. They've got Naeem Hines. He's carved out a nice little role for himself there. So at the end of this first round in our most recent mock, pick 10 through, what was that? Say 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 10 through 15. You're looking at Diggs, Lamar Jackson, end of the first round. It's a super flex league. Tyreek Hill, then Zeke, then Eckler, then Hopkins. I would still take Eckler over Zeke. I really love the Chargers adding Joe Lombardi as their offensive coordinator, coming over from the Saints. Should be a huge increase in target share for Eckler. That's all that the Saints do is target their running backs, target Alvin Kamara. Stephon Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins, to me, are still my number 1 and 2 wide receivers overall. I still have them ahead of Tyreek Hill. I have them ahead of Devontae Adams, who went first wide receiver off the board in this mock. So I still hold those guys in a lot higher regards. To me, there is a lot of question marks still in Dallas, and I would probably prioritize those guys ahead of Zeke.
Mm-hmm.
What about a guy like Aaron Jones? I think that's a really interesting situation, not really knowing what's going on in Green Bay.
I'm not touching Jones or Adams in the first 2 rounds unless I know the situation with Rodgers. I think people, and it's not me wearing this hat and being biased, but I think people are really underestimating the impact Rodgers has on that team and how much of an eraser he is. People. And it's really funny that the Packers fans are saying, like, oh, he's not all that, or he's no players above the team. Like, shut the fuck up. He is like the reason you have your second ring. He's the reason you've been competing for a while. And I think if he goes out and Jordan Love comes in, and I don't care what they're saying about Jordan Love, he's not ready. If he was ready, Rodgers would be a Denver Bronco right now, and they would have a boatload of picks. So that really concerns me with Jones. And I also. This is another thing with Packers I don't understand. They paid Jones this big contract. If you're gonna pay him this contract all along, why did you invest a second round pick in AJ Dillon, which was really stupid? Because you probably could have got another back later. So I'm really concerned if Rodgers isn't there for Jones, because I don't think he's going to give you the value you think. Adams, as great as Adams is, I think he's going to be plagued by Jordan Love if he's starting, and I don't think you're going to get the return on investment you're hoping for.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have Adams at number 6 without Rodgers, and that's looking like something that's going to trend down even more as we get closer to week 1 if Rodgers isn't going to be there. We also have to just take into consideration maybe he just sits out 4 games just to play stinker. Something like that.
That's what I think he's going to do, because he's petty enough to do it. I think if they don't trade him, I think he could. I think he'll sit out until week 8, because I think for him to return his bonus money, from what I was reading, he has to play. For him to keep his money, I should say, he has to play in over 50% of the games, and I could easily see him just being a dick and just sitting out till week 8 and being like, all right, Packers are 1-7 or 0-8, and I think people are really not understanding how much impact he's going to provide to that team. And I could see him come back in week 9. So he's someone I could maybe let somebody else draft him high and maybe just snag him for pennies on the dollar later on and just hope for the best.
So would you take Adams or Zeke if they're both number 1 in the queue in their positions and you're on the clock? Zeke. Okay.
There's less questions. Dak's coming back. That offense is loaded.
Yeah, again, it's just those question marks on the offensive line. I mean, they have Tyron Smith and Zach Martin still, but those guys, they're always changing out injuries. And beyond that, name me somebody else on that line.
Yeah, La'el Collins. I don't know if he's still there. It's just they are a shell of what they used to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything else looks great: receivers, quarterback, running backs. Heck, they even like their tight ends.
Yeah, Nick
All
made a
right.
good point in the chat about Tony Pollard. He is a guy that I would cuff if you end up taking Zeke. I think it's worth
Hmm.
mentioning. He is an
Hmm.
explosive running back, and unfortunately, he's a reminder of why you don't pay running backs. Unfortunately, because when he
Yep.
gets a chance to play, he has the burners, and he is a game changer. And Dallas could have had him for nothing. I think he
Mhm.
was a third round pick. They could have just kept him instead of paying Zeke almost 100 mil.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and with Zeke, I mean, it could just be a 1 year thing. He did have COVID last year. I mean, we'll see what we get out of this year, but I feel like he's got plenty left in the tank. It's just the system around him seems just more pass friendly, and that's not his
Yeah.
skill set anymore.
And the one thing I was going to mention about Zeke, about you saying that he's got a lot left in the tank, I agree, because usually for a running back, when they start wearing down, they usually have those
Mm-hmm.
nagging injuries, right? They have a bad ACL tear or they have lingering
Mm-hmm.
issues. He hasn't had that, knock on wood. He's been relatively healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm hoping that it's a bounce back year for him because he doesn't have those signs where, like, okay, he's been missing 2 games here, 3 games here. I think the time where he missed significant time was that year where he got suspended.
Right. Yeah. Still at the end of the first round, beginning of the second, it's tough for me just because I really like a lot of the players that are being drafted in that spot. Like I said, I'll take Eckler, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins over him. Maybe a guy like Jonathan Taylor. I don't need to reach on over Zeke just because that Indy offense, they do have a couple more mouths to feed. Running backs Naeem Hines and Marlon Mack is coming back healthy. How long that lasts, I have no idea. But at the end of the day, just less competition for touches, and Zeke is still at 300 touch category type of guy.
Yep.
All right, so let's come back down to Detroit. TJ Hawkinson news just blowing up right now by beat reporters. He's going to lead the team in yards, receiving yards, receptions, targets, everything, because he's just the most competent, literally, receiver, period.
Yep.
We already went over some of these other guys, Perriman, Tyrell Williams, Quintez Cephas, Amon Ra, all that jazz. I mean, right now, he's going as tight end 6 in round 7. Is that appropriate? Are you in on that value? Do you want, will you take him earlier? Or do you want him beyond round 7? What are you thinking?
So he's going tight end 6, right? So can you? I know
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey, Kittle, and Waller are ahead of him. Who are the other 3? Is it Andrews?
Mark Andrews and Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts. Okay, Kyle Pitts. As much as I like Kyle Pitts, I mean, I would take Hawkinson over Andrews myself
Okay.
personally. I think
Okay.
my happy spot for him is that round 5 to 7 area. I think he's going to finish
Mm-hmm.
tight end 4. When he was coming out of the draft a couple years ago, he was one of the highly tight end prospects to come out in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Not like
Yep.
Kyle Pitts, who's an athletic freak, but he was a great blocker. Hawkinson was coming in, and he was a receiving threat, and he had a pretty good year last year. And I think this year he's like 6'6". I think in the red zone he could have an 8 to 10 touchdown year because I think Goff will look for him a lot, and I think he's going to rack up a lot of yards and catches. If tight ends are quarterback's best friend and they don't have a lot else, and I think for tight ends, it's going to be harder for them to double him if he's
Mm-hmm.
lining up on the line. So I think I like him. I think round 5 to 7 is good, and I think he could finish as a top 5 tight end.
Yeah, I feel like the value is going to continue to climb. I do feel like as we get closer to week 1, he's going to be drafted as the tight end 4. He finished tight end 4 last year,
Mm-hmm.
but it was mostly from the touchdowns. He didn't have a huge target share. But at the same time, they've lost a lot of faces. Kenny Golladay is gone, Marvin Jones is gone, so it's a whole new offense. I do expect Jamal Williams to steal some touches, steal some catches back there, just because, like you said, running backs and the tight ends are going to be Goff's best friend, and I do feel like they're going to try to utilize everything they can to still protect him. At the end of the day, a lot of people are really low on Detroit in general. It's not like they're not going to show up and not play football. It's not like they're not going to put a game plan together to try and have some success, right? To move the chain. So I still see there being some viable weapons there. Hawkinson appears to be the most favorable one. I will take him anywhere from. I really don't like round 5. I still feel like that's a little too rich.
Mm-hmm.
Even round 6, just some of the guys that you get right there. Where did he go in round 7? He was the last pick of round 7. DJ Shark went right before him. Deebo Samuel went a couple of picks after. T. Higgins, Chase Claypool territory. I really like some of these names right here, and it just may be more difficult for me when I feel like I can chase, maybe a Dallas Goedert. Maybe his value is a little bit too low right now because people are waiting for Zach Ertz to get traded. A Mike Gesicki, who I've been in on so far in my drafts this year. Tyler Higbee, who a lot of people are low on. I really like him this year with Matthew Stafford. So I just feel like the tight end position, because of how volatile it is, I just really hate chasing unless I'm getting like a Waller, I'm getting a Kittle or a Kelsey. It's very difficult for me.
And that's a position, like you said, it's so volatile. I think sometimes people are going to end up reaching just because, especially if you see, Kelsey's probably going to go round 1, right? Most drafts, as he should. And then Kittle and Waller might go both in round 2. And I wouldn't knock it for the amount of production they have. And then all of a sudden in round 3, that person who goes after Waller or Kittle is picked. They're like, do I take somebody now? Do I wait? And sometimes in some drafts that happens too, where mentally you get a little fucked up and you're like, oh, wait a minute, it's just not a time to take a tight end. You know how much you like somebody. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the next few months shape up. Because like you mentioned, there's a couple of late bloomers like Jonnu Smith who blew up last year, but not a lot of people saw it coming. You could see, Kyle Pitts, he was going to be there too. So it's just going to be real. Cole Kmet. Well, he's actually going to get to play, so he'll be interesting. I mean, he wasn't even the best tight end on the team last year. I mean, Graham. Look, Graham. Actually, you just said it by accident. Graham was a great late round value for somebody last year. Almost 10 receiving touchdowns. I think he'd take that over a lot of other tight end options last year.
I'm going with Kmet. Going with Kmet. Definitely targeting him in the back end of drafts. And honestly, I wouldn't be mad if I had Cole Kmet and Tyler Higbee, and I'll get both of those guys for freaking free.
Yep.
All day. All right, next up, we've got Russell Gage getting some more opportunities. Arthur Smith saying he's going to be playing multiple spots on the field. News or snooze, and is round 14 in an appropriate space to draft him?
I think it's news. I mean, he played multiple spots last year too, inside, outside. I think with Julio going, that's a big chunk of targets that are going out. Kyle Pitts is coming in, and really Kyle Pitts might be one of the most hyped up rookies coming in a very, very long time. Yeah. With good reason. I mean, physical freak, 6'6", runs fast. He's. I mean, the only person you can compare him to is Calvin Johnson with the way he's built. You haven't really seen anybody built like him. So obviously he's going to have an impact in the game. But Russell Gage last year did start off really hot. He was a really productive fantasy receiver. So I think there's potential for him to be there. And I think round 14 is an awesome spot. Towards them, later part of the draft, if he's still on the board, no reason not to take a flyer. He's got a little bit of, he's proved in the past that he can be viable. So I think that's a good spot.
All right, right on. For round 14, I think it's pretty safe. I mean, the names that are going around him, receiver-wise, you're looking at Christian Kirk, Jalen Reagor, Sterling Shepard, Mecole Hardman the round before that, John Brown the round after. So I don't really hate it, but I don't know. I might grab like a Mike Gesicki right there, or maybe even a Tevin Coleman, who's not a really bad option for the Jets to start the season. Probably will lose touches as the years goes on, but to start the year, if you're hurting for running back, might be something I might be looking into. So for some of the pieces around him, I'm not really sure. He was a guy that we were able to get off of waivers last year. So obviously, his value is going to climb. I guess it's news in the sense that, hey, it's Gage and not like Zaccheaus. It's not Olamide Zaccheaus that's getting that quote unquote hype from Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
But we've also seen Arthur Smith use his receivers and tight ends, very uniquely coming out of Tennessee. So maybe Russell Gage could be one of those guys that benefits from the new system.
And one guy I was going to add who's kind of a forgotten name is Hayden Hurst. The Falcons did give up a second-round pick to get him, so I don't think although Pitts is listed as a tight end, they're going to play two different tight end positions. So that's another guy to keep an eye on. He's going to have some value in that game. I don't think he's any worth drafting, but I think he will be eating into the targets.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's move on. We got a couple of Moores, Rondale Moore and Elijah Moore, getting some hype from both their coaches. Robert Saleh says he's been very impressed with Elijah Moore this spring. And Rondale Moore has been catching Cliff Kingsbury's eye. He says he's going to manufacture touches for him. Which Moore are you more interested in 2021?
Give me some more of Rondale Moore. I think the reason I'm going to go with him is he's got the better quarterback, right? And he's got an established offensive system. So, this is the the third year, I think, right now for Kyler Murray with Cliff Kingsbury. They've been together, so he knows the system, right? He's got Hopkins there, got AJ Green there. They have a nice little offense, and I think he's going to be in a better position. Zach Wilson, man, I don't know what it is. I hope I'm wrong because he never wished bad on anybody. I just see a lot of bust factor in him. I just think this is something we're going to be looking at in 3 years. Like, how the hell did a quarterback from BYU go round 2, right? I'm sorry, first round, go pick 2 overall. Like
Pick two.
it looks like it just doesn't look right. I mean, I'm hoping I'm wrong, but that offense, I think initially they're not going to really have anybody else set up there, right? They're not going to have other receivers. I think Rondale, I think, has got a better upside. Elijah, I just need to see how Zach Wilson settles into the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, it's the Jets. And I'm going with you all day. Rondale Moore, they're both going in the round 18, but I expect Elijah Moore's value to climb just because, Jamison Crowder could get traded. That'll boost up his value. Corey Davis is already banged up. If that continues to be an issue, then again, Moore's value is going to continue to rise. I don't see him sitting, in round 18 for very long. I think his value is going to move up the closer we get to week 1. So I'm going with Rondale, who I believe is going to stay under the radar, and I'm going to get a better value. And you're absolutely right. He has a better quarterback, a more established system there. The Jets, they're going to have to work on finding an identity with a new rookie quarterback. And honestly, I like Rondale Moore to leapfrog Christian Kirk and AJ Green on this depth chart. I honestly believe that he can be a safety blanket for Kyler Murray, who says, hey, I don't want to run as much anymore. Which isn't great news because I got him in an auction league. I would like him to run a lot as well as pass the ball, but can't have everything. But he says hey, I want to pass more. I want to do what I do. And I feel like the emergence of a guy like Rondale Moore, who's he's a smaller guy, but he can be used again all over the field. Like a lot of these newer receivers coming in that are built for speed, after the catch, built for making being playmakers and making plays downfield with their speed. And I think it was like 75% of his receptions came within 10 yards at Purdue overall in his career. So he's a guy that's, very shifty around the line of scrimmage, collects balls and just takes off with them. So he's definitely somebody that I'm very, very in on. And he is the Moore that I would prefer more in 2021. Give it to us. All right. Next up, we've got the Todd Gurley Tour, the 2021 Todd Gurley Tour. Has a second stop in Baltimore, visiting the Ravens this past week. Kind of a similar situation to the Detroit visit. You have a sophomore running back in there with kind of like a 3 or 4 year vet. You're looking at Gus Edwards and Jamal Williams from Detroit with Swift, right? It's very similar situations, but man, I would hate if this happened. I mean, would this be the last straw off the Dobbins back or what?
It really would be, man. And Dobbins had a really good rookie year, considering the value. He got a really explosive player. I love how he's developing. You already got Gus Edwards, who you just played money to. They just re-signed Gus Edwards to a longer-term deal and paid him. Gurley, I don't see what he can add. And it's really sad, because he was such an electric running back coming out of Georgia and his first couple of years with the Rams. And, I feel like he's been in the NFL for 30 years. And he's only 27, right? And it's just his knee. And we were talking about Zeke a little while ago, right? Where we think Zeke Bob's back because Zeke hasn't had the injury issues, right? Gurley's just his knees have been in trouble since college, and they're getting worse. And I just don't know what he would add to the Ravens.
Goal line touches, I don't know. Stealing more touchdowns from J.K. Dobbins is what all I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's just I don't like the move. I mean if he's coming for a veteran minimum, which he might be, I get it, but I just don't see them. I just don't see the point.
I mean, if you're Gurley, it's got to be the Ravens over the Lions, at least at this point.
Yeah, right? if you're chasing a ring, which I'm assuming he's doing at this point, and not looking for a payday, you'd go there.
What about a team like Buffalo?
I mean,
talking contenders.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking contenders, but again, it's not necessarily him going to it's less about him and less about the team. If I'm Buffalo Bills, right, what is he going to add to me, right? What is he going to give me that Devin Singletary and Zach Moss can't, right? What is he going to do? Obviously we know the Bills, they're Super Bowl contenders, right? They were one game away last year. They made some key additions in the offseason, right? They upgraded at quarterback position by adding Mitchell Trubisky, so they're obviously going to the Super Bowl now. But just had a joke about that. But it's just he's got to be healthy, and I don't know if he's ever going to be healthy, unfortunately.
No, I agree with you. I think he can add a value just being a goal line guy, but again, he's going to have to just be making fullback money, that veteran minimum, like you were saying. So chase the ring, brother. I don't hate it, but just stay out of Baltimore. Go to go to Arizona. Go to a backfield I hate. killing me. All right, let's move on here. We're going to jump into some players that we're avoiding, guys that are on our bust list or avoid list for 2021. But before we start, please be sure to like the video, share the video, and follow us on youtube.com/take it to the Hizzy. Let's go. We'll just go kind of back and forth here with guys. My first guy up is Mike Evans, coming off career lows in receiving yards and catches. The touchdowns were there. He had 13 receiving touchdowns, but this is a year where they didn't have Antonio Brown all year. They're getting him for a full season. They're getting OJ Howard back, and Mike Evans himself just isn't concentrated or focused on collecting stats. He has literally said as much. Hey, use me as a decoy, feed these guys underneath. He's just not someone that I'm targeting in a very bountiful, full offense. You're looking at Godwin. You're looking at full year of Antonio Brown. Like I said, OJ Howard coming back. Gronk has been in the year or been in the league another full year. So I feel like, there's a little bit more upside for him, coming in with a full, fresh off season, coming into this year. So any objection there, or any other guys that you would maybe you'd rather have Mike Evans rather than like a Godwin or something like that, or Brown?
Yeah, I think if I'm going to get a player on the Bucks, I would want it to be Evans, but I'm just going to set my expectations, and it has nothing to do with his talent, right? He's uber consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he misses games, he always ends up with 1,000 yards every year since he's been in the NFL. He's super consistent.
Right.
It has more to do with the fact that that offense, like you said, that's a lot of people, man. Like a lot of people, I think, forgot about OJ Howard. Like that offense is loaded, man. Like it's just too many weapons, and I think. If you get him in round, he's probably not going to end up on any of my teams because he'll probably be gone because of the name value and he's on the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he'd be the guy I target, in that offense as my number one primary. I think he's Brady's primary target in that offense. But I just would set my expectations that you're probably not going to get a monster, another double-digit touchdown season out of him. It's just a full year of Antonio Brown who knows the offense now. He's settling in. OJ Howard coming back. It's just I don't know how people are going to stop this offense.
I mean, honestly, for the value, I don't love Mike Evans in round 4 or Godwin in round 5. I think I'd like Antonio Brown a lot more in like round 9, round 10, to be honest with you.
Personally, I would too.
I drafted on a dynasty league. I took Godwin. He was like my first receiver because I went running back and quarterback heavy to start. So he was my first receiver on my team. But then I backed that up with Antonio Brown like way later in the draft. So I was pretty happy about that because Godwin, there's the injury concerns, right? And yeah, Evans' value could shoot up if they had, a couple injuries. One of the running backs gets hurt. One of the tight ends gets hurt. Godwin gets hurt again. Antonio Brown slips up on something, I don't know, the value would increase. But for round 4 for Mike Evans, you're looking at like some of those running backs you were talking about, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins right there. Allen Robinson went at the beginning of round 4. I'd certainly have or prioritize Allen Robinson over Mike Evans. Terry McLaurin, who I would absolutely prioritize over Mike Evans. And then this is a 2 quarterback league. So you're looking at like, second tier quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford, Ryan Tannehill, who, I mean, that would be a home run, Ryan Tannehill over Mike Evans. Tom Brady went in the very same round. For Godwin, right ahead of Godwin, David Montgomery all day. Right after Godwin, Julio Jones. Who would you rather have, Godwin or Julio Jones right now?
Julio.
Yeah, exactly.
Again,
Cooper
it's just
Kupp.
so that offense is so loaded. I'd probably have Kupp as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just too loaded.
Yeah, I was going to say Cooper Kupp, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore. Honestly, I like all those guys ahead of him right now, just because it's just so crowded over there. So
and that's the thing. Evans is better than all 4 of them, but there's just too many people around. I mean, it could go both ways. I mean, it could be a season where he does blow up because there's so many people around him. He's getting single coverage all day and he's just eating. Yep,
absolutely. Yep. So who's your first guy up?
My first guy up for my notes is, I believe, Michael Thomas. And simple reason being, for the first time in forever, it feels like the Saints are not going to have Drew Brees, right? Thomas was injured pretty much all of last year, right? The only time he's really had to play without Drew Brees was with Teddy Bridgewater for a few games. I think, unfortunately, Teddy Bridgewater is not that good. I think he's better than Taysom Hill and Jameis. So I'm really concerned with how he's going to do this year in this offense without Brees. And I also wouldn't be surprised if the Saints maybe end up trading this offseason to somewhere else to start reloading. So he's a guy we're used to seeing as wide receiver 1, right? Just because he's getting 100 catches, 150 catches every year. He's someone I'm not taking until like maybe round 5 or 6. Probably not going to be on, again, one of my teams because somebody would probably take him sooner, but that's somebody I'm staying away from. Too many concerns for me on that offense without Brees.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Right now, he's going in round 3, the end of round 3, just ahead of Justin Jefferson. Allen Robinson would take both of those guys over him right now. Darren Waller went a pick ahead of him. Again, someone I would absolutely take over him. Keenan Allen, George Kittle, a couple of picks before. Again, players I would all slam before taking Michael Thomas. Yeah, there's just too many question marks at the quarterback position. All of Michael Thomas's production from last year came with Taysom Hill at quarterback. Jameis Winston and him apparently aren't having the most chemistry. He's not, whatever. He's not hitting slant boy on his specific routes. So there's some issues there. We could just see straight up experimentation from Sean Payton.
Right.
1 week, this is the quarterback. Next week, this is the quarterback. We have really no idea. So for round 3, I do not love that position he's putting you in. The team behind me in this mock started Lamar Jackson, Austin Eckler, Michael Thomas, Tom Brady, Deontay Johnson. It's not a bad start, but I feel like Michael Thomas as your wide receiver 1 is going to leave a lot of question marks still.
A lot.
Not knowing what that quarterback situation is going to be, if it's going to remain consistent. We could see Winston start the year. They have a great start, and then it just nosedives at any time. And it seems like Michael Thomas has some bit of a preference to Taysom Hill, which is going to cause some issues.
God knows why.
He fed him last year. That's literally where all of his production came from.
Yeah, but
those were the only weeks he was relevant in the box score, period.
Yeah, I mean, but he missed a lot of the games too. But I just think with him on that Winston, if Winston starts, I feel more comfortable taking Thomas because Winston's problem is interceptions. Those interceptions don't affect Thomas. Thomas is going to eat just like the Bucks did when Winston was there. Hill, I think that he's going to get exposed big time this year if he's a starter. Really, really big time.
Oh, I'm not planting a flag on either one of them. I'm staying as far away as I can. But that's the issue is like there's just so many different opinions. It seems like in the building, how are we supposed to gauge the appropriate success for these guys? I have no idea. So definitely a situation I'm staying away from. Alvin Kamara is the only guy I want in that offense.
Yep, I agree.
My next guy up is. Oh, go ahead.
I said, who you got next?
Oh, my next guy up is Jalen Hurts. Just getting drafted a little bit too rich for the weapons that he has available to him. So he's going in round 4 in between Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady and selected 2 quarterbacks ahead of Ryan Tannehill, which I just 1,000% disagree with. Doesn't have the receiving weapons. They have a new coach, new system in place. Maybe these running backs eat with a lot of pass catching out of the backfield, but I'm not buying into Jalen Hurts. And honestly, I could put Miles Sanders on this list as well. I feel like he's getting drafted a little bit too high. Round 4, same exact round. Guys like David Montgomery, who was a top 5 running back last year, getting drafted behind him. Chris Carson, who I like a lot more this year with Seattle over Miles Sanders. They just drafted Kenny Gainwell as well. So I feel like they've loaded up on some weapons, but they're also about to lose Ertz. I don't like the receivers. Am I crazy here?
You're not crazy. I mean, with a team that invests so much in wide receiver, right? You would expect something else now. They've drafted Jalen Reagor, they drafted Devontae Smith, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, and they haven't hit shit yet. And with Hurts, I know what his appeal is. He's a dual threat running quarterback, right? He can run, he can throw. And what does that mean for fantasy? That usually they end up well. The range you took him in, I'm assuming that's a super flex league because it's in the draft. But there's no way I'm taking him over Tom Brady. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, there's no way I'm taking over Ryan Tannehill. Like, he might be a top 10 quarterback in fantasy from rushing, but we're talking about 2 other guys that arguably Brady could be QB1. Tannehill has a shot at it too.
Oh, absolutely. But even some of these names after, Joe Burrow, I'll take. Carson Wentz, Ben Roethlisberger, Derek Carr. I just don't love the situation. Some of these other quarterbacks in the back end of super flex leagues, they just have better, passing options, better receivers, better running backs. I just don't love the situation in Philadelphia right now. To me, they're going to be anchoring, that division this year.
I'm with you on that.
All right, who's your next guy?
I love the player, hate the situation. I might make that a series this offseason. Kenny Galladay. I love me some Kenny Galladay. He's going to the Giants. They gave him the biggest contract, so can't knock the guy for getting paid, right? Not at all. He's going to He's going to a team that has Evan Ingram, John Ross, Sterling Shepard, Saquon Barkley, Darius Slade, right? And the quarterback's Daniel Jones. So I think the quarterback plays suspect for me. Sorry, Tommy, I know it's your boy, but that worries me a little bit. Can he take that step? He could. He's got all the weapons and no reason not to, but that's a big risk right there, right? And Galladay's usually a superstar receiver. And then also there's just so many other players where I just think I think that's going to really hurt his value as a fantasy receiver, where I don't think we're going to see the production we used to see in Detroit.
Sure. I actually like Kenny Galladay. I took him in this mock in round 6 as my third wide receiver behind Diggs and DeAndre Hopkins, loaded up. I really like that position. I would have put myself in there. I actually prioritized him ahead of Adam Thielen, Odell Beckham Jr., Tyler Lockett. Maybe that was a misstep. Maybe that was a slight misstep. Brandon Ayuk, Jamar Chase, Juju Smith-Schuster. I do like him over a lot of those guys. Maybe there's a bit of more of a debate for Tyler Lockett, who I really like a lot. But round 6, I feel like is kind of expensive for him, given that DK's emergence. So I'd like to get him a little bit later. But yeah, Kenny Galladay, I'm all about it. Honestly, just Dan Jones hasn't had a target like that. I mean, the next best talent that he's had is Saquon Barkley. You know, Barkley probably better than Galladay as far as fantasy and football is concerned, but he's going to have a legit wide receiver 1 rather than just being left with whatever's left over. So I think this actually gives Dan Jones some upside this year, and I think that they're going to try to use Kenny Galladay in some creative and Dan Jones friendly fashions. Set up the play action. You got Saquon Barkley there, who's going to command a lot of concentration from the defense. And as long as Kenny Galladay stays healthy, I think that should open up a lot for him. And he could be, in a better situation than even Detroit, just because Detroit never had a running game to back him up. He was always just being stuck with being the target hog, and that's how he was getting a lot of his touches. Yeah, exactly. And it was also killing him. It was also almost always injuring him. So maybe a few less looks from the defense will, upright or straighten up his health for the year. If he stays healthy, for all 17 games, I'm going to be buying him as wide receiver 1, hands down.
Got it. Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see how this plays out this year. I love the player, but the situation has some concerns for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of mouths to feed, to feed there. But I think that Darius Slayton's going to take kind of a step back. I think Sterling Shepard, always consistent, but I feel like is going to be playing second fiddle behind Kenny Galladay. Oh, yeah. And Evan Ingram's like way off my radar. He's way off my radar right now. So if I wind up being wrong about that, I'll still sleep fine. All right, my last guy up here. This is redraft only. Don't kill me. No. Yeah. Keep the stakes at home. Najee Harris. Redraft leagues, way too expensive. Way too expensive. He's going in round 2. Round 2 as a rookie. He's getting drafted in between Cam Akers and Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's going to be a candidate for 300 touches this year. He's going ahead of A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, top 5 wide receivers, in my opinion. I'm sorry. No, that's just way, way too rich for me. In dynasty leagues, yeah, you'll do that pick all day in the second round, end of the first round, even in dynasty, if you want to really build around a youthful running back core. But no, Najee Harris round 2 in redraft is just way, way too expensive. Also in a super flex league, way too expensive for me. Am I nuts?
I think so. I disagree. I think with Najee Harris, he's a very talented running back, right? He's a dual threat running back. He can run. He's a big dude. He's powerful. He can block. Really good work ethic. And I think the Steelers they have a lot of holes, and they took him in the first round over beefing up that line or helping the defense out. So I think he's going to be an integral part of that offense and give them something they really haven't had since Bell left, which is a dynamic player that can do both things. Ben's getting a little bit older. They're going to need to take that pressure off him and have a viable running threat. And he's a threat in the receiving game as well. So I think second round, it really depends on what you do in the first round. Obviously, if you take him, if you just go running back. If you go running back in the first round, you may. If I see A.J. Brown on the board in the round 2, it's going to be hard to pass that up. Same thing with Calvin Ridley. But I'm not. I don't think it's crazy to take him in round 2 at all.
Well, to be fair, the guys behind him, I'm not in love with. I like Cam Akers, so let's take his name off that list. But Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, Etienne, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins, and Swift. I like Swift a lot, but still a lot of question marks around Detroit. I would probably
take Harris over all of them myself, honestly.
I would, but just round 2 is just too expensive for me, just based off of the other talent that's there. Travis Kelce, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Calvin Ridley, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Russell Wilson. Again, this is super flex. Justin Jefferson getting pushed to the end of the third. That's crazy. I don't see that happening very often. I see him going in the second round still, even in redraft. So yeah, all of those names, I would just a different position, right? this person that in this mock did Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, back-to-back quarterbacks, and Herbert and Stafford, and then landed their first receiver at Julio Jones. I don't hate that. They're looking pretty thin at wide receiver. They got Pittman and Darnell Mooney. I don't need that Darnell Mooney pick, but at the same time, pretty thin at the position. It's going to leave a hole. I just don't love him in that space. Like at the end of the second round, I feel like the value that's available to other positions is just much, much higher. So agree to disagree. No worries there. Who's your last one?
Last one for me is going to be somebody we already started talking about, Josh Jacobs. Been really disappointed with him. He started off hot last year. They really tapered off. And this year they also went out and signed Kenyon Drake. John Gruden's kind of a mad scientist when it comes to running his offense. I have no idea what the hell he's going to do with Josh Jacobs. So I'm not taking him personally if it's a normal single QB, 12-team league. Round 4 is where I'd be okay taking him. Anything higher, I just think there's too much risk. Like a guy like David Montgomery, I think has better value than him, who finished the year on a tear and is getting a better offense. Najee Harris, I think has some upside. I just think Jacobs, again, his there's just more uncertainty around that team.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you. And the only reason why I like Jacobs more, or not more this year, but they didn't really add anyone at receiver. So I still feel like there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Drake and Jacobs both to eat, but we would just be ignorant to believe that Drake won't affect Jacobs' value. So for where he's being drafted, yeah, I agree with you. Just based on draft position, like round 3 is a little bit expensive. When you're looking at some of those other guys that we just mentioned, George Kittle was drafted after him, Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, all in that space. Those other guys we mentioned, Justin Jefferson, Allen Robinson, would much rather have all of them. And this person that do in this mock is with Alvin Kamara, Gibson, and Josh Jacobs. Getting a little bit too rich. Yeah. And their quarterbacks are Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson, so it's not a great situation. They backed it up with some receivers, Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, Brandon Ayuk. Don't hate that, but you got a little bit too rich there with that Josh Jacobs pick. And I feel like some may still be chasing him, just hoping for the best, but not having realistic expectations that Drake will eat into that workload. So I agree with you. Round 4, way too expensive.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. We're gonna go into some season win props. But before we do, please be sure to smash the like button, share the video, and follow us on youtube.com/take it to the Hizzy. Let's go. Taking it from the top here, I'll start. You can throw up the next one. Arizona Cardinals over under 8 flat wins. 8 wins. Tough division.
I push.
8 and 9.
I think 8 and 9. I push. I think that looks like a record for that team. I think they're again the same team that they're just not there. They're just not there to get a winning record. So I'm going to say I'd say push. I think 8's a good number.
Yeah, the division is getting tougher. San Francisco is going to be healthy. The Rams got Stafford. Seattle already loaded up. So I'll agree with you there. We'll go with the push. Let's see. Baltimore Ravens over under 11 wins.
This is the next one I was looking at too. I'm going to do another push. I think that division is getting better, and I know I hate doing that. I'll try to make that my last one. But honestly, looking at that division, the Browns are getting better. The Steelers are still going to be around there. I think 11-6 is what I would see the Ravens record at. If it was 10.5, I would take the over. If it was an 11.5, I'd take the under. But I think that's an accurate number of where I think they're going to be.
I'm going to say the over. I think they're going to be solid this year. Getting more pieces on offense. They want to change things up, get more vertical. I think that's going to help out Lamar actually run even more. I think he could have more yards rushing this year just based off of them wanting to pass more. Opens up more opportunities to roll out of the pocket, things like that. Still the leading rusher on this team the past 2 seasons as far as yardage is concerned. So I'm going to go the over 11. Give me the 12 and 5. Buffalo Bills 11.
Over.
I like the over as well there.
That big reason why that division, Jets and the Patriots. I think that's 4 wins for them. I think they're going to sweep them both, and I think they'll split with Miami. You're a halfway there to 12, right there, just in the division. So I think that's a team. Josh Allen, who's been progressing like crazy the last couple of years, takes another step. I think I'd see them. I think they can get 12.
Chicago Bears 7.5.
That is fucking free money. Take that all day. Over. Pounding the over.
We just got better.
Even if you don't care what we say, if the Bears go 8-9, they hit the over. This is and that's what they've done. They have never had a losing season under Matt Nagy. I think he's only one of the. I think him and Tomlin are the only 2 active NFL head coaches that have not had a losing season in the NFL. And I think they went from having bottom 5 QB play to having Andy Dalton, who Andy Dalton, as pissed off as I'm about the signing, he's an average quarterback. That's all he is. Average quarterback last year, they probably would have won 11, 10 games.
Can't argue with that. Yeah, the Bears just got better. Like they loaded up. We got Tevin Jenkins for free. The defense is still great. We got an upgrade with Justin Fields at quarterback. If he's not there, he will be there soon. If he's not the guy day one, I still think he's going to be the guy day one. There's just no benefit to say so. Bears over 7.5 is clean win for me. Clean win. That number is going to move too, people. So get on it.
I would get on it now. That's going to hit 8
absolutely.
Or higher as soon as they announce him as the starter. And the other thing to keep in mind that's not even related to the Bears is the next team, and I hope you don't mind me taking over the next one, that's not on this list is the Green Bay Packers. If the Packers lose Aaron Rodgers or he's not playing, that is an extra. And if he doesn't play at all this season, I don't think the Packers can beat the Bears without Rodgers. Rodgers there, obviously, Bears probably get swept again like they have in the last couple of years. But that is an intriguing thing to watch, too, because if he's not playing, I think the Bears get 2 more wins that they get that I don't have them having right now with Rodgers.
Yeah, agreed. And the Packers are not on this list for good reason. For good reason, yeah. Return of the Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals, 6.5. Over is paying plus 120.
And I'm going to go with the over. I like it too. I love me some Joe Burrow. I love what they did with it in the draft. Everybody was bitching. They didn't take Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell was not the only fucking lineman in the draft. They drafted 3 offensive linemen. They're going to have a much better upgrade. They got maybe the most electric player in the draft in Jamar Chase. Give me. They can get that 7. They can go 7-10.
Yeah, I agree. I'm all in on that. I think they still had 6 wins last year without him.
Probably. Right?
6 wins. All right, we're going down. We're diving here. Houston Texans 4 flat.
Under.
Give me the under. Yeah, give me the under. It looks so freaking bad.
You said the Texans. Before I clicked on the pop up, I was like 2, 3. Like I wasn't sure if they're gonna win a game, man. Like, I'm taking under.
Let's take a look at the Ofer. The Ofer record. Give me 1 second. So 0 for 17. The Lions, yes, plus 2,400. The Houston Texans, yes, plus 1,700. Not bad.
I'll throw $10 on that. Like with no Watson.
On the Texans?
Yeah.
Poor Jared Goff. They're saying he's not going to win any games. That's terrible. Man, he stinks. Perception. Oh, yeah. It's a terrible thing. Jaguars, been talking about him a lot this episode. 6.5 wins.
I go under. I think they're gonna. I mean, yeah, I think under. They're still in the division with both the both the Titans and the Colts, but they do play the Texans twice, and I think they'll kick their ass. And you're already a third of the way there. I'll go over. I think they can get 7.
Yeah, it's tough for me. I'm going to still say under. I still think they have a lot to do, a lot of building to do. And I think Urban Meyer at some point will kind of get exposed for, the recent lack of experience. He's going to be a little bit too player focused. I'm still going to go under. I still think that defense is a work in progress. Let's see. I really like the under on this one. New Orleans Saints.
Let's see if that came in at.
Oh, 9. Sorry, I thought you
9. No. Yeah. I did. I have to open that one up. Yeah.
I like the under a lot.
I do too. I don't think they're going to have a 500 record with them. So yeah, I'll give you that under.
Yeah, I'll take 7 or 8 wins there out of the Saints. I mean, it's a very competitive division too. Let's see, get a couple more. We'll head out here.
Yeah, what do you think about the Chiefs? 12.5. I think that might be the highest one on here.
Yeah, Chiefs are at 12.5, and Tampa is at 11.5.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. I'll go with the Chiefs. I'll go with the Chiefs to hit the over.
I go with the Chiefs to hit the under, but the Bucs are going to hit the over. I think that team is going to come back firing, and like I mentioned, not only are they bringing back all the starters, they're also going to get back a brand new draft class, which is like cheating. Like they're going to get better players at it. So give me the over on the Bucs, under on the Chiefs.
I can still take the over on the Bucs. I just think that it's more likely that the Chiefs hit their over.
Yeah. No, it could go either way. Another one who I think this is free money that they're giving out, which a lot of people aren't going to realize, because I think this coach is going to finally get exposed, is the Niners. 10.5. Give me the under.
Dang. Oh man. I was just talking last week about Jimmy Garoppolo getting back to 2019 status. That's still a tall order, but that defense is just so good, and they were just so hurt last year. It's a really tough number. I'm gonna take the over though. I'm gonna say that them and the Rams are the most competitive in that division.
Yeah, but you still got the Seahawks, and you have the Cardinals in that division too. I don't think that even if Garoppolo goes down or if he doesn't play, then you have Lance coming in who's not ready. I think that's going to be another pick. I think we're going to be questioning on in a couple of years, like why the fuck did you take a D2 quarterback at number 3 overall and give up all that? I just think that's way too high for that team. I think they peaked in 2019.
I just don't think they're going to rush to start Lance whatsoever, and I feel like Garoppolo. I mean, if he's healthy, if he's fine, I think he can run the offense. At least above average status. In 2019, he was quarterback 13, and he didn't have nearly the weapons he has now. He's going to start the year with a healthy Debo, a healthy Ayuk. Last year, he started with Trent Taylor and Kendrick Bourne, and he started the season with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions.
But what I'm saying, though, is you're telling me they're going to get 11 wins. If they go 10-7, which is a good year, that's still the under.
That's true.
I have them as an 8-9 win team, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think they can hit 11, though. I kind of see Seattle and Arizona being like those 8 or 9 win teams in the division, and I like the Rams and San Francisco the most, just because I feel like the San Francisco defense, when healthy, is going to just produce that really strong run game where they don't have to lean on either quarterback. Period. All right, a couple more here. Tennessee Titans. I like the over on this one, 9. I really like that, especially with the addition of Julio.
Oh, that is low. That's going to change really soon. I feel like 9 is literally low.
It's paying minus 150, which is a bit higher than most of these. A lot of these are at plus 105, minus 110. So
you take what you can get.
It seems like they like this as well. But yeah, 9 as a number in general, like that's free cash. Last one up here, and then we'll close it out. Washington football team. Got a lot of new weapons, a lot of new faces. We're close to the situation over here, paying plus money over 8.5 wins. I like the over.
Give me that over. Give me that over. Give me that over. That's the weak division. I think they'll have a good year. They won the division with Alex Smith on one leg. They're going to have Fitzpatrick, who's going to be an upgrade. I think they can get the 9 wins.
They have the best defense in the division, in my opinion.
Oh, not even close. They have a top 5 defense in the NFL, maybe even higher.
Yeah, Ron Rivera is making it work over there. Absolutely loving what he's getting out of Washington. Resurgence of that team right now. I mean, obviously the optics aren't always so great, right? With Snyder and all the outside noise, but love me some Fitzpatrick. Love Curtis Samuel coming over to this team. Was banging that Antonio Gibson drum all year long in 2020. So I'm excited about all the news, all the positive news that's coming out about him. Having a bigger role, being included more, going to catch more passes. High on Terry McLaurin. He's my wide receiver 13. Just got him just narrowly behind Julio Jones. Have a share already of Curtis Samuel. Really like what he's going to be able to bring to that team. That type of gadgetry, line him up everywhere. And then, like you mentioned, already have a potential top 5 defense in place. I'm all about it. Give me over 8.5 all day. The only thing that could spoil that is just the division just being crazy again, which I'm betting on not happening.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
All right, cool. Well, you got anything to close it down with? That's about all we got here.
No, the last one I was going to say, I know we wrapped up teams, and one that I thought we should just mention to the listeners is Pittsburgh. Last one, they're set at 8.5 as their win total. I'm going to take the over, like I mentioned earlier. Tomlin has never had a losing season. I think that continues. He gets at least 9.
Sounds good. I like that value there. I like it. What was it paying?
It's paying minus 105 for the over and minus 115 for the under.
Cool. I like the over there. The division's going to still be tough, but I feel like they have the weapons to answer the call, so I'll take it.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Take care, guys. Be well. We'll be back tomorrow with fantasy hockey. Be good. If you can't be good at it. We'll see you.
Later, guys.